Please take your seat. Our program is about to begin. Please welcome to the stage the founder of Gain Power, Amy Pritchard.
Wow, wow, wow. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to see so many of you here this evening. I am Amy Pritchard. I am the founder of Gain Power, and welcome to our second Powerful Idea Award program. Gain Power launched just 3 years ago to diversify, demystify, and democratize political work. We really wanted to lower the barriers to entry and to encourage new leaders to turn their activism into a profession. Gain Power is not a partisan organization, but we are a values organization. For us, progressive isn't a place on the ideological spectrum, but it's an umbrella term that recognizes the diversity of people and organizations dedicated to justice and equality, protecting and expanding our freedom over fascism, and of course, our democracy. For us, diversity is about identity and all the beautiful communities that come together and do this work. It's also about a lived life experience, skills, issues, and the various organizations that we work at. And tonight's awardees reflect all of that diversity and more. Most people know us because of our Career Center, which since we launched in 2020 has been used by over 3,000 organizations and over 50,000 individuals all across the country, and even a few countries outside of the US. But as tonight's event demonstrates, we're much more than a job board. We're a community. We're a platform to facilitate building this community and growing it, because we believe recognizing the work is an important part of bringing people to it and creating connections and elevating people who do this work. Gain Power has a footprint bigger than our actual size. We're actually very tiny. And honestly, we need more investments to scale this work. This has never even been a job for me. Some of you know I'm a voter contact consultant. I do mostly direct mail and digital. But it's a passion, and it's been a passion for many years. I started Democratic Gain before Gain Power 20 years ago, which is a little crazy. Some of you remember that. Because I believe the most important thing about the work that we do is the people who do it. And I want to help bring more people to this work. The progressive community collaborates in data, media, technology, research, but we actually do precious little for recruitment and retaining talent. And we don't do enough to bring more people into this work. So this award program is an attempt to recognize the people who do the work, to attract more people to it, and to retain the people who do it. We all know how unstable this work can be. We are officially a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's kind of crazy to think about. Democracy has become a multi-billion-dollar industry. So we need to invest more, and we need to spend more time appreciating the people who do this work so that we can bring more people to it. Speaking of investments and people who actually do understand this, I want to make sure that I get to thank all of our sponsors, many of whom are in the room, some of whom I'm staring down at right now, our friends from America Votes, AFSCME, the DNC, DCCC, Fieldworks, Mission Control, Netroots Nation, Senate Majority PAC, UFCW, Working America, NEA, so many others, individuals who have supported this event this evening, and really the work that we all do. Be clear, the work we do is much more than this event. I want to also just recognize a couple people. Heather, I see you. President Saunders, I see you. I'm so excited that we're recognizing you tonight and that you're here to celebrate with us. Honestly, Heather, you're my guiding light. I say this to you all the time, but it's really true. And President Saunders, we wouldn't exist without AFSCME. We really wouldn't. I have a lot more to say about that point, but I'm going to save it. It's so important. And Karen, I see you. President Pringle, I see you. Thank you for being here tonight from NEA. There's so many others I'm sure I'm not calling out. I do want to make sure, before I step away, that I get a chance to thank also our staff and our team. This has been a lot of work for a lot of people for many months. The Dania team, Mathoni, I don't think she's made it. We'll get to why in a minute. And Jess, Allison Schwartz, who is my ride or die girl from Growth Strategic Solutions, Roberto, who's not here, but some of the Solidarity Strategies team is here. Thank you for all your work. Our judges, our staff, Christine, Kara, Seth, Felicia, Lyric, Ed, Kira, Allison Torres, not to be confused with Allison Schwartz, And Kimball Stroud and your team, who've been amazing, Liz, Marie, and Brandon, thank you so much for all you've did to make tonight's event a success. These awards are meant to honor and pay tribute to so many unsung heroes. And speaking of that, I want to take a moment, and I'm hoping there's going to be a slide here, to talk about a few who are no longer with us. I want to take a moment to pay special tribute to two individuals who left us too young and too soon. Just over a week ago, the Democratic Party and the progressive movement lost one of our own when North Carolina's Conan Morgan passed away in a tragic boating accident. He was a lifelong Democrat and activist, and we really wanted to celebrate his memory this evening. Under better circumstances, his wife, Raina, who's the director of the Civic Engagement and Voter Protection Program at the DNC, would also have been with us, but she's not able to join us. And a lot of our community, the Democratic family, are with her mourning Conan today. I also want to acknowledge another one of actually our award recipients who will be awarded posthumously, Anastasia Golvashkina, who we lost this summer. Okay, checking who's up there. We lost this summer to a dreadful brain tumor. She had been the the digital director for Senator Warren's campaign for president and a digital consultant as well, and she's being recognized tonight. Along with these two, I know we've all lost other champions and folks, so I just wanted to take a moment to honor their memory and pause for a moment of silence. Thank you. This event is magical to me for a lot of reasons, but the biggest of which, and really the thing from our inaugural event that made me so happy, was bringing together cross generations. Folks who had been doing this work, like myself and others, for a decade, with Gen Z for Change and so many other Gen Z folks, to interact and to get to know one another. Our goal is really, like I said, to build community, and there's so few opportunities, and this is true pre-pandemic and in this now crazy world that we live in, to actually gather in community because we're so spread apart. So bringing folks together to meet tonight was very much the goal. Tonight we're excited to showcase some of the most legendary leaders who make our progressive movement run. So I want to say congratulations to all of them, and with that, speaking of legendary leaders, I'm going to pass the mic to our two co-chairs, who I also want to thank, Tasha Cole and Guy Cecil, who are going to play the role of NC this evening. And I hope they're coming out here in just a minute, okay? They'll be here just, oh, here they come, all right. But as they step out, again, I wanted to thank all of you for being here in person. I want to thank folks who are watching online. We have an app. This is streaming live, and we know so many of our awardees were not able to be with us this evening, so I just want to again say thank you and congratulations. And both of you, Tasha and Guy, thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone, and thank you, Amy. We are both honored to co-chair this amazing event that celebrates the people and the organizations that power progressive politics. This is the second annual Powerful Idea Awards, and what we think is quickly becoming a marquee event in our movement.
Good evening. It's long past the time that we all take a moment to celebrate each other. You all work hard, and what you do every day impacts not just politics, but lives. Last year, I was honored to be a 2002 IDEA Award recipient, and it's so humbling to be back here again as the MC. We've all been doing this work for a long time, and looking out and seeing old friends, new colleagues, and future superstars makes us hopeful for the future of our work and our movement.
Many of you, many of us, put our work first because you are passionate about making a difference and creating a country and world where we can all live as our authentic selves, free and thriving. So tonight we are putting you first to say thank you, to celebrate, and to lift up your amazing work. Tonight we will honor 6 amazing progressive icons, and we will celebrate the awardees of the 2023 Powerful Idea Awards that our community voted on.
And now, on to our first honor of the evening. As soon as the paper. There we go. The Next Up Award is presented to a young, up-and-coming leader who pushes boundaries in the face of great opposition. This leader does not wait to be asked, but steps up and takes their chance, knowing that the price of inaction is too high. This recipient knows that while they follow in great footsteps, the path they are carving will make space for others to join them, continuing to grow and diversify the movement. Here to present the Next Up Award, I am proud to welcome to the stage President of NARAL, Pro-Choice America, Minnie Timaraju.
They're pretty. Hi, everyone. Good evening. All right, I am thrilled to be here and deeply honored that I was asked to participate to honor my good friend, my fellow Texan, Olivia Juliana. We can give her a round of applause. Olivia is an abortion rights activist from Houston. She served until very recently as the director of politics and government affairs at Gen Z for Change, a nonprofit that focuses on civic engagement amongst Gen Z. They focus on labor rights, abortion rights, and education. And she's worked with so many of us, so many of you in this audience, Democratic candidates, officials, to bring an intersectional, much-needed Gen Z voice and lens to our work. And she's most well known for raising over $2.2 million for abortion funds, no small feat, after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. A true activist in every sense of the word, she initiated the takedown of a whistleblower website that targeted those in the state of Texas who aided in abortion access. She's worked with campaigns. She's raised these funds for abortion funds. And she did that when she was publicly attacked by Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. So that just sort of made the whole thing sweeter for so many of us, right? Watching her and watching her star rise. And her audience across social platforms is now combined over 1 million, where she's acquired hundreds of millions of views of her content. I just want to say, as a fellow leader and colleague in the abortion rights movement, in order to really hold these extremist, out-of-touch politicians to account for putting our rights on the line, we must make critical investments in a new generation of leaders, equipping activists and candidates to go on the offense, much like Olivia. And not only have these same young people and people of color historically been at the forefront of our fight for reproductive freedom, it's also these same people who have felt the harshest ramifications of anti-abortion politicians' attacks on reproductive freedom and reproductive access. And leaders like Olivia, at the helm of the fight, are building the future generation of political champions who embrace reproductive freedom and are ready to galvanize the 8 in 10 Americans who support the legal right for abortion. Olivia is already shining a light, showing us the way to do this work with equity, inclusivity in mind. And I'm so honored and proud to present the Next Up Award to my good friend, Olivia Juliana.
You know, it's actually really funny. A year ago today, at this time, I was stuck in IAH Airport in Houston, about to board a plane for the first time to come here to gain power, and just, you know, a small round table meeting at the White House, no big deal. But, you know, in my head, I think that I'm always just going to be some kid from rural Texas. And my love for where I come from is at the center of everything that I do. You know, my great-grandparents immigrated to Texas 4 generations ago. And it's honestly central to me, and I feel like I am who I am because I'm a fourth-generation Texan. My foremothers, thank you, yes, thank you. My foremothers are people like Ann Richards and Barbara Jordan. And Barbara Jordan has a quote where she says, "I believe it is in the soil and spirit of Texas that gives me the feeling that I as an individual can accomplish anything." And my great-grandparents, quite literally as sharecroppers in the soil of Texas, planted the seeds of my American dream. And they have been watered for nearly 2 decades now by the blood, sweat, and tears of activists and organizers and elected officials who have come before me, who have this central goal in mind. People ask me all the time, are you going to run for office? Are you organizing? What are you doing? And the honest answer is, I have no idea what's up next. I don't know where I'm going. I don't have long-term plans except to make Texas as good as the promise and the opportunity that my great-grandparents believed it would provide when they immigrated there from Mexico. And while the seeds of my dream are growing, they are not yet in bloom. They will be in bloom when Texas is no longer a place that people use as a means to invoke, look what's happening, look how much fear and hatred is out there. My American dream will be fully in blossom when Texas is seen as a beacon of hope and progress, because that is in the history of our state. I mentioned Barbara Jordan and Ann Richards, but we also have to remember that the right to an abortion from the Supreme Court came from 2 young Texas women, Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey. And I refuse to make us forget that legacy, that it was those 2 women in their 20s who stood in front of an all-male Supreme Court and said, this is our right, this is a freedom, it is not a privilege that you have the ability to take away from us. And that is why we have to continue fighting, and that's why we have to continue investing in the South, because Southern organizers have been on the front lines. And as a young Southern organizer myself, it's not for the faint of heart. And I know everyone knows about the confrontation with Congressman Matt Gaetz, but not a lot of people know about the conclusion to that story, which is when I confronted him face-to-face about 3 months ago. I was at the State of the Union. I was a guest of Congresswoman Nanette Barragán, and I saw him walking by, and I called his name, and he came over and put his hand out, and I grabbed it, and I shook it. And before he could realize who I was, I leaned in and said, "I just wanted to say thank you for supporting abortion rights." To which he quickly dropped my hand, and I'm not kidding, literally briskly walked away in the other direction. So he learned a very important lesson, which I think a lot of people are going to learn in the foreseeable future, which is you don't mess with Texas women. So thank you all so much.
Olivia, I don't know if this will give you comfort or alarm, but I've been doing this for 25 years. I'm 48, and I also don't know what I'm doing next. So we are in very good company with one another. The community awards are broken up into 5 categories that we will announce throughout the evening: transformational talent and leadership, creative communications and content, inspirational organizations and campaigns, powerful programs, events, and activities, and transformative technology. As a community, we are great at celebrating our amazing elected leaders, but we know that behind every elected official is a cadre of amazing staff, and behind every election win is a program, an ad, an organizing drive, or technology that helps us all. This year, we had over 470 nominations across these 5 categories, and we know that there are hundreds more that didn't even get submitted. But we are excited about the amazing nominations. We always knew you did amazing work, and this is the proof. It's my honor to announce our awardees in the category of transformational talent and leadership. These winners have revolutionized the way we work, led us to victory, organized us, and answered the calls to action. Can the following people please stand up and be recognized, and please hold your applause to the end? Nadia Belkin, BIPOC and constituency organizer; Quentin Falks, campaign manager; Dom Kelly, campaign political staff; Nicholas Gavio, communications staff; Ryan Irvin, digital consultant; Pia Carasone, media consultant; Kayla Brock, creative artist; Shabab Siddiqui, data staff; Anna Wu Henry, digital staff; Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski, federal candidate, now Congresswoman; Mac D'Alessandro, field consultant; Roderick Smith, field staff; Susanna Para, field staff; Adisu Demisi, that didn't count as applause, that was just a cheer. Followed the rules. General consultant; Victoria Hammett, influencer; Anathea Chino, issue activist or movement leader; Carlos Duran, leadership through equity and DEI leader; Victoria Perone, legal and compliance consultant; Lisa McLean, male consultant; Mayor Karen Bass, municipal candidate; Ashanti Golar, nonprofit or political organization leader; Atoya Deans, nonprofit or political organization political staff; Julia Alderman Boudreau, nonprofit or political organization research staff; Greg Sensing, operations staff; Lavora Barnes, party leader; Terrence Woodbury, political consultant; Benjamin Jones, research consultant; Anastasia Golovashkina, social media strategist or influencer; Alejandro Gomez, state-focused MVP; State Representative Anna Escamani, state legislative candidate; Alicia Menendez, traditional media influencer; Nancy Stalnaker, trainer; Marzi Branyan, voter protection staff; David Vasquez, operations staff; Brooke Gorin, communication staff. Congratulations to all of you. Our next honor, the Hidden Figure Award, is presented to an individual who works tirelessly behind the scenes, often doing what others will not. The work that slowly but surely creates long-term and meaningful change. While this person rarely gets recognition, it is their efforts that ultimately fortify the strength of our democracy. Here to present the Hidden Figure Award, please join me in welcoming the CEO of the American Association for Justice, Linda Lipson.
Can you all hear me? Hello, everyone. This auditorium fills me with hope for the future. I'm going to thank every single one of you. I needed hope today. So let's just take the Wayback Machine for just a bit. 30 years ago, when I started my career, actually my second career at the American Association for Justice, which is the organization that represents lawyers that represent people who have had horrible things happen to them. We're dedicated to making sure that people get a fair shake when harm comes to them by negligent companies. So I met this little girl, actually, named Andrea Haley, who was the daughter of our president, Rich Haley, who's sitting right there. Rich, can you just stand up just because I have to acknowledge you as well? I met this little girl, and I was so profoundly moved by the fact that she knew early on what her direction was going to be, that she was going to make a difference. I am so honored to be able to present the Hidden Figures Award to Andrea Haley, who is the CEO for Vote.org, a wonderful organization that has done everything they can to defeat all those democracy killers everywhere. You know, Bill Clinton used to say, I'm sure you've all heard him say this, that when there's a turtle that gets to the top of a fence post, there's a reason for it. They didn't just fly and sit on that fence post. Well, when more women, more people of color, more young people go to the polls in 2020 and 2022, there's a reason, and that reason is Andrea Haley. Andrea is a relentless optimist. Andrea doesn't see barriers. She just sees opportunities. How can we fix this? When there's, over the course of about 5 years, and I have to admit, I never knew that democracy was so fragile. I never knew it. And then suddenly we're seeing all of these different efforts to make it harder for people to vote. I always felt that if you had the ideas, and the right ideas, you could win people over. But instead, we saw this profusion of democracy-killing efforts. Well, kind of like whack-a-mole. Like I actually call it whack-a-rat, because it's one, you kill one and then 3 more develop outside of that. Andrea and her fantastic organization has taken the helm, and when diplomacy works, she'll use that. She will, and she's so winning that she'll influence everyone, and they'll come around, or most of them will come around. Some of them will never come around, but we'll fix that later, right, Andrea? Right? And when she has to pursue a lawsuit, she will do that, and she will win. Andrea is being recognized as a hidden figure today, but it's not going to be long, Andrea. Everyone's going to know your name, and we celebrate you, and please help me acknowledge Andrea Haley today. Hidden Figure Award.
Wow, I could not have asked for a better introduction. I hope everybody indulges me for 2 seconds here, because that's a full circle moment for me. Linda Lipson is my friend, but she is also my hero, and I have looked up to her my entire life. So to be able to have this award presented by Linda means a lot. I think that it's a reminder to me that as we all lead, we're influencing all the people around us, ones that you may not know. You know you're influencing your team and your friends and your family, but there may be a little girl out there saying, you know what, I can make a difference too. I watched Linda fight my whole life to make sure that the world's a little bit better for people that are injured all across this country. So I was inspired to make sure that our democracy is a little healthier and a little bit better, and that I also pass something a little bit stronger onto the next generation. I want to thank Gain tonight and Amy Pritchard. Thank you for giving us a place to celebrate and to have fun and to really uplift the work of everyone in this room. Had the great honor of being able to go on the Faith and Politics tour with Congressman John Lewis. I know, Tasha, you did too. And I, back in 2016, I'm a super nerd. I've got some fun outfits on tonight, but I'm a real nerd. So back in 2016, I had a pen and paper, and I was ready, and I was like, Congressman, what did you do back then that we aren't doing now? What is it? And I was ready for like a tactic, a silver bullet, a thing that we just all collectively had not thought of. And he looked at me and he said, you have to keep your joy. And I literally wrote it down. I was like, keep your joy. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I was like, how is joy a tactic? How is joy a thing? Like, is it, maybe do we need 10,000 more text messages in Flint? Like, what do we? And after a few years, man, I can tell you now, the most important thing is keeping your joy, because it's how we all sustain in this work. It's how we do what we do every day. And it's how you, stay a hidden figure and keep going, whether you get recognition or not, because you're motivated, you're excited, you want to change the world, and you've kept your joy. Now, I've gone on a little tangent here, so I'll keep it a little short. I want to thank everybody for really seeing the work that's happening at vote.org. We all know what it feels like to go unnoticed in a group, to be in the background of something, to maybe not be the loudest partner in a coalition, to do work that maybe no one sees, but you know the true impact of, and you know what it's like to not always be in the in crowd. There may be things at home, family and friends, and things you do at home day to day where you're unseen or where the work happens. But I think the most important thing is we all keep showing up every day in that unseen work because we know how important it is. And some of my why is right here. My family's here tonight. My dad's family is from West Philly via South Carolina. And my mom's family is from rural Indiana, southern Indiana, a little town called Orleans with one stoplight. And growing up, one of the things that I had to always hold, that I didn't always realize everybody else didn't hold, is that I had to hold space for all of these experiences and see how interlinked we all really are at the end of the day. So my why for why I show up is because drop boxes, I know I can't believe we still have wars on drop boxes, but drop boxes in Philadelphia affect my family there, and drop boxes in rural Indiana where I can get hours to get to the closest polling location affect my family there. Attacks on vote by mail affect us everywhere. Affect both sides of my family. I think the attacks on the systems itself mean that we have to, stay vigilant and keep showing up. I think the civil rights movement is now the heart of the larger democracy movement in our country, and that we have to make sure that we stay resilient as we fight the forces that would make it so that we can't have free and fair elections in our country. So I think, with that, I want to say to everybody here, I see you, I see the work you do. I'm so humbled by this award, and I promise that the tomorrow that we have, I'm glad for the award for everything that happened in 2020 and for everything that just happened in the midterms. We registered 4 million people at vote.org. We ran a Get Out the Vote campaign that reached 1 billion voter contacts over the last 2 cycles. We filed lawsuits in Florida, Georgia. We won our federal court lawsuit in Texas. It's up on appeal now. And we're going to keep going. So as excited as I am about this award and about all the hidden figures here tonight, I just want to say we all have a lot of work to do and a lot of joy to have and a lot of celebration to have as we go into this presidential cycle. And I look forward to partnering with everyone here so that we can make tomorrow a little better. I think there's a friend that said, everything you do will never seem like it's enough, but all of it is important. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for your work. Now I would like to honor the winners of the Creative Communications and Content category. These are the people who make the ads, design the mail, draft all the emails that we receive in our inboxes, and create the visuals that fuel our campaigns. Can the following people please stand and be recognized? And again, audience, if you can, hold your applause to the end. Simon Rosenberg, Analysis for Public Consumption. There's a power in sharing your abortion story, art. Somos Votanis, The Things That They Treasure, Bilingual Communications. Somos Your Vote, Broadcast or Cable TV Ad. Breathing Exercise, Digital Advertisement. 2002 Sister District Impact Report, Digital Content, Organic, Not Paid. Somos Bilingual Email Program. Progress Now, Michigan. Superhero, Mail or Literature Piece. Votes for Women, the board game, merchandise and collateral. The Great Battlefield, podcast. Abortion Everyday, political newsletter. Unidos, U.S. Action Pack for Adrienne Fontes, radio advertisement. And Emily's List. Congratulations to the creative minds behind all this great content. Now for the Living Legend Award. The Living Legend Award is presented to an individual who has played a key role in some of the most significant moments in the history of the progressive movement. They have driven meaningful change that has impacted innumerable lives, been a critical voice and counselor during pivotal moments of inflection, and have had considerable impact in creating a more just and equitable America. Here to present the Living Legend Award, please welcome the head of Tusk Strategies DC office, Cristobal Alex.
Good evening, folks. What an honor it is to be with you tonight. I'm looking around the room, and wow, this is a very serious and powerful room. I want to especially say hi to Heather Booth, my shiro. I think all of our shiros. And, you know, I spent some time today thinking about this introduction that I've got to give. It touches me very personally, the person I'm about to introduce, because I wouldn't be here today without him. And I think a lot of folks around the country, organizers, activists, folks in the civil rights movement, folks in Hollywood wouldn't be where they are today without him. This is someone who has made a lasting mark on politics and far beyond that. My dear friend, Henry Munoz, is also probably the best dresser in Washington or in New York or anywhere else. He's a mentor. He's someone who can be very honest with me and with those around him. I remember when my hair started to go gray, probably after the 2016 election, and then a couple of babies, and he told me, Cristobal, don't use just for chumps, just let it go gray, which is why today I have gray hair. I stopped using just for chumps. This is a true story. He also taught me to be an organizer, something I wanted to be like him for so long, and he taught me these words that the movement of a people starts with the steps of just one person. And Henry, I think you are that one person who helps build movements and starts organizations. One of the few people that I know who not only can have a big idea, a great idea, but also knows how to make it actionable, how to take an idea to fruition. Like when you had the idea, along with Eva Longoria, of starting Latino Victory Fund and building that into the organization that it is today. Like when you had the idea, together with Dreamers, to build Dream.us, a major scholarship fund for dreamers around the country. You designed an effort in the midst of the worst pandemic in our history to reach the hard-to-reach communities, to build vaccine programs in New York to reach the underserved, Latinos, African Americans, people of color, people who don't speak English, saving many, many lives, and I can say that quite seriously. He's someone that the president trusts. The president named you the vice chair of the DNC for a reason. The president also loves you. That's why he married you to your husband, Kyle, and trusts you. You're a history maker. The very first openly gay finance chair of a major political party. The very first Latino finance chair of a major political party. And I will say probably the very best fundraiser I've ever met. Another important lesson I learned from Henry and a saying is, no peso, no say so. That really means something. And it's truly stuck with me over the years. And he's totally right. No peso, no say so. But beyond his contributions in politics and movement building, there's also just the inspiration he gives the community and fighting so that we actually have a voice. I don't know any other Latino who had the idea of going to Hollywood and buying a film company so that we would have a voice in Hollywood. That is amazing. And I think what you've done with Funny or Die is just truly incredible and inspirational. And it doesn't stop there when you think about the work that he's done around culture and arts, and his lifetime commitment to having a Latino museum on the mall. I thank you for that. That'll be very important and part of your legacy. And you're doing a heck of a job as the chair of the Smithsonian National Latino Board. Again, an inspiration. And the last thing I'll say here is, again, as a friend, I'll never forget when my dad was on his deathbed, and we didn't know how much longer he had to live. And I flew to be with him, and I shared that with you. And you were in Rome. You were meeting with the Pope. And I remember you getting on the phone with him and talking to him. And I thought that was a very special thing that you did. But I didn't expect the next day for the rosary to show up, to be overnighted from Rome, from the Pope, to be with my dad as he took his final breaths. And that is something my family will never forget. And I think it says a lot just about who you are as a person and who you are as a living legend. So, Henry, please come on up.
The truth is, I'm not very good at getting awards, but I'm very good at sitting in a room with very smart and creative people and working on the future. And I wanted to come today, even though it was difficult for me, because I wanted to say to all of you in this room, not only that I see you, but I've worked with you, I want to continue to work with you, and that I know how difficult it is, the work that you do. And you deserve both celebration and recognition. I will say this, I am very grateful to Amy and to Gain Power. And when Kimball called my office and said you were giving me an award, and then Isaac told me it was the Living Legend Award, I was on the West Coast working, and I called my husband, my spouse, Kyle, and I said, tonight you are going to be sleeping with a living legend. And there was dead silence. And he said, oh, sure. Are they coming over to our house, or am I going over to theirs? And I said, no, honey, it's me. And he said, well, I'm just glad you're still a living legend. I'm still living. I called my sister this morning because I wanted to understand what it is about us that has affected our lives and given us the drive to be there for other people. Truth be known, I'm here because of ASFAME. My father was a labor organizer in the state of Texas. I'm also openly Texan. And he used to come home on Friday nights after traveling the state. I'm sure I am the only kid who had to watch labor leader training films on Friday nights. But he would unpack this 16 millimeter projector, and we'd sit in our den and we'd watch these movies. And there's a movie that he showed, it was called The Inheritance. I tracked down a copy of that film. I have never gotten that film out of my head, and it was about the immigration to the United States in the beginning of the 20th century, and the people working in the steel mills, and the Italians, and the garment district, and the concept of the American dream being big enough for all of us. And in that film it said, freedom and opportunity are not your birthright. They weren't handed to us on a silver platter. You have to work for them, and you die for them, and you day and night for them, and every single day you earn them all over again. And when I was growing up, my dad used to make sure, my mom used to make sure that we were on picket lines, right? We were there. We were never the people who had the new car. We did go to good schools, but we never had the new car, and we never had the swimming pool. I remember being sent home one day from school because I didn't quite understand, but that weekend we were picketing the Archbishop's house, right? And so my dad and my mom taught me really to be a good designer, to design for change. If there's anything that I realize now, I can't do it by myself. I have to be in a room with smart people who have something to say. And ideas come from anywhere, right? And if you listen, things will happen. I was very taken with you because when I was 29 years old, Ann Richards gave me a job, right? She made me the transportation commissioner for the state of Texas. And she said, I'm going to make your life miserable because the job you have to do, right, to change the funding formulas and to bring economic development to areas of the state that have never had it, and to make the administration of this very important state agency look like the Texas that we all live in. And pretty much every day I think about what she would tell me, because every day I wake up and I think, well, what is it going to be today? Today it was a state of emergency declared on the LGBTQ community, right? My husband is now my spouse and is non-binary. And we feel it very personally. They have to think about what restroom they're going to go into in order to feel safe. So when you're faced with those kinds of issues and you realize that anybody can make a difference, anybody can be a hero, you don't have to stand on a stage. If you are willing to share your experience, if you treat passion and drive like a career, if you're really willing to reach back and bring other people with you through the door of opportunity that does exist in this country, don't believe anybody who tells you that the American dream isn't big enough for all of us, so we have to hate other people and exclude other people from that dream. That's what you stand for. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm so incredibly proud of what you do, and I'm proud of this organization for taking that work and honoring it and elevating it and sending a message to other people that democracy is difficult, but it is beautiful. And it is worth fighting for, and it is worth creating a career within. And all of us together, I believe, it's like my mom used to tell me, it's kind of a 60s phrase, keep the faith. We got to keep the faith, right? Well, what is faith? It's having hope and believing in something when you can't see it. And so to all of you who have hope and who have kept the faith, I should be here giving you an award. But I am so thankful to you for recognizing my work, but more importantly, the work of every single person who's not standing on this stage with me over the course of the last now, almost 40 years, to help change the lives of the American people. I thank you on their behalf.
This is Gain Power. Gain Power is a unique community space promoting and connecting the people powering progressive politics. This dynamic platform offers networking, job searching, cross-marketing, organizational development, training, and support, all while knowing that members share similar values and principles.
I love the Gain Power community because they've helped me get every job I've ever gotten in politics.
Gain Power promotes and celebrates people and organizations powering democracy, elections, advocacy, campaigns, and government in order to bring about social, political, and economic change. Through the years, the platform has been instrumental in launching careers. Gain Power was created to support the talent that makes the progressive movement go. We work to inspire more people to make progressive politics a profession.
I love Gain Power because it is different from any social website or platform it is that I get the chance to use. And I say that because I've been able to find my tribe of people, share interests and passions with the people who are moving this country forward, be able to talk about body autonomy, reproductive rights, climate change, BIPOC rights, LGBTQIA privileges and rights and laws and policy. And because of that community and because of Amy Pritchard, who's pioneering the people and doing the work every day of getting people and rallying people and recruiting those who are passionate about this work, that is why I love Gain Power.
The website is just the beginning. What it truly offers is a community. We're building directories, a marketplace for ideas, networking and professional development activities, curated content, and connecting people who are working to promote and protect our democracy and advocate for progressive policies. Gain Power thrives on collaboration. We are establishing collaborative programs to strengthen and expand the progressive community's commitment to attracting, supporting, and retaining talent. We support accountability. We want to build a movement that reflects the communities we represent, and we want everyone who comes through our platform to be a building block in this new foundation that will create a world we can all thrive in.
Gain Power is built on 3 tenets: diversifying, demystifying, and democratizing progressive professional political work. We elevate values-shared organizations and leaders working to make our country, our democracy, and the world a more fair, equitable, safe, and just place to live through elections, advocacy, and governing.
This is Gain Power.
Tech is an integral part of our campaigns and organizations, and we are thrilled to recognize the winners of the Transformative Technology category who built the tools, wrote the code, and dreamed up the new ways we can use technology to reach voters. Can representatives of the following organizations please stand and be recognized and hold your applause until the end? Parsons for a data tool, Action Builder for a field tool, Goodstock and Company LLC fundraising tool, Impactive custom voter registration tool, and Scale to Win dialer system for phones and text tool. Congratulations for your amazing work. Our next honor, the Truth to Power Award, is presented to an individual who stands up to the powerful forces that block progress. Through leadership and action, they serve as a voice for those who have been silenced, and without fail, they fight for the meaningful change that moves our country forward. Here to present the Truth to Power Award, representing California's 28th District, please help me welcome Congresswoman Judy Chu.
I'm so honored to present the Truth to Power Award to an amazing colleague and dear friend of mine, Congressmember Grace Meng. Grace Meng is a tremendous role model, a great advocate, and an inspiration to so many. She's serving her 6th term in the U.S. House of Representatives after serving as a state assembly member in New York. And when she was elected to Congress, she became the first Asian American woman elected to Congress from the East Coast. Throughout her career in public service, she's been a champion of the marginalized and a fighter for those in need. She's a champion of her Queens district in New York, of mothers, of Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, and of the working class and those aspiring to the middle class. Now, I chair the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and she ably serves our 74 members as the first vice chair of our caucus. And let me tell you, she is a problem solver and a doer. When Asian American Pacific Islanders face 3 years of terrible anti-Asian hate due to Trump calling the COVID-19 the China virus, she was the one that put together the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which was the most substantial improvement to hate crimes legislation in 30 years. And when it became apparent that more Americans needed to be educated about the history and contributions of Asian American Pacific Islanders, she is the one that put together the Asian American and Pacific Islander Museum Study Bill, which formally kicks off the process for the establishment of a National Smithsonian Museum dedicated to AAPIs. I was so proud to be there at the White House with Congressmember Meng when President Biden signed both these historic bills into law. It's not just for our AA and HPI communities, but for all communities that she works tirelessly for progress. She's an outspoken advocate for menstrual equity, for immigrant rights, for language access, for mental health, and so much more. To recognize her phenomenal work, I'm just beyond thrilled to present tonight's Truth to Power Award to my friend, Congressmember Grace Meng of the 6th Congressional District of New York.
Thank you so much to our chairwoman and my good friend and our fearless leader, Judy Chu. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much to Gain Power for hosting this incredibly moving event and for this very special award. And I also want to say congratulations to all my fellow honorees. We learned so much from watching each other and working from each other, and truly will be able to forge a better path ahead for all of our shared communities by continuing to partner together. I never thought that I would go into politics. I was actually a really shy kid growing up, would be very scared if my teacher called on me in class. I would try to sit in the back of the room and literally would hide if I was able to. I never ran for student government. I never even took a political science class. I meet elementary school kids that have more political science and electoral experience than I did when I first ran for office. And I really got involved in public service because of various internships. And I realized through that service that you don't need to have a fancy title to make a difference. You don't need to be wealthy. You don't need to have a special degree from an institution to be able to make a difference in the lives of those around you. I was just a daughter of immigrants and was able to, in very small ways, volunteer and help improve the lives of the people in my community. You know, when I was growing up, I wasn't always so proud of my heritage. I did not know many Asian Americans in my community. Back then, Queens was not so diverse, and I was often embarrassed about my heritage and my culture. I did not like that my mom would sometimes give me Asian food for lunch. She packed me dumplings and rice, and all I wanted was a PBJ sandwich. I wanted to be just like the other American kids. I was embarrassed one day, I remember, when my dad came to open house because he was dressed in a chef's outfit as he was a chef in a Chinese restaurant. And I thought, why can't he dress like all the other dads? Why can't he look American like the other dads? But I will say that being in public service, I have learned so much from the people that we are elected to serve. And by working with so many of the people in this room, much of your work goes unnoticed and underappreciated. And know that we are so grateful to each and every one of you for the tremendous difference that you are making in the lives of people around us. You know, I am also a mom of 2 young kids. I remember when I first got elected to the state assembly, they bragged to me that they now had a women's bathroom. I'm older than I look. And they bragged to me that they had a nursing room for new moms. And as I have been serving, I realized, and people asked me who my political mentor was. You know, we did not grow up in the world of politics. My parents were working in the restaurant for most of my childhood and most of the week. And that was a really difficult question for me to answer, who my political mentors were. And at one point, soon after I got into politics, I would tell people that my political mentor is my grandma who actually just turned 99 years old. My grandma never went to high school, never went to college, obviously never ran for office, but she was the first one in our family to come to the United States, left her children, and came by herself. And I remember when I first went to Congress, she said to me, she said, "I know sometimes you're shy. I know sometimes you're quiet." She was like, "You better speak up in those rooms." She said, and I said, "Sometimes, Grandma, you know, my stories are a little different." I thought about when I was growing up as a daughter of immigrants. I said, I don't have the same stories and experiences that I can share with people like my colleagues do. And she said, and I like to share this because I think it applies to so many of us, that we are often in rooms where there's no one else that looks like us. There's no one else who has the same experience that we had. But that is precisely the reason why we need to be in those rooms, because there are so many communities, so many families around this country and in our districts who have no one to speak up for them. And that is literally why we need to speak up. And literally today, in this day and age, to help save lives. There is so much at risk today, from gun violence to reproductive rights, to our trans community being under attack every day, to climate change. Our work is not just about organizing. It is literally working to make sure that all of our community's voices are being heard, because people's lives are literally at stake. If we don't organize and if we don't strategize, more people will be at risk, more people will be harmed. And so I'm so honored to be here with all of you today, and was a little intimidated that I had to get the award after the living legend, Henry Munoz. I mean, his picture collage was a little more impressive than my collage would be. But I want to end with a note of allyship. I served with Henry a little bit at the DNC. He's so well dressed. They used to sit me next to him on the dais. And he always looked so amazing. But I don't know all the answers. Sometimes I don't know how to advocate effectively enough. But I look at leaders like Henry, and I look at leaders like so many of you in the room today, and I learn. I learn from all of you. Congresswoman Chu was kind enough to mention 2 of my bills that got signed into law. I didn't do that by myself, and it wasn't even just an effort of the Asian American community. When we were under attack over the last few years, it was our allies from the Black community, the Jewish community, the LGBTQ community, the Arab community that came to us and said, we know what it's like to be discriminated against, and this is what we need to do to work together and to help build tolerance and to combat hate. And so I just want to say thank you for this award. We have so much more work to do, but seeing all of you in this room just continues to motivate me and to empower me to do even more and to do better. So thank you for the award, and thank you for your work.
I love Congresswoman Grace Ming. I'm so excited to introduce the winners of the Inspirational Organizations and Campaigns category. These winners ran cutting-edge campaigns, built impactful organizations, and are showing us the way in terms of team building, strategy, and sustainability. Can representatives of the following organizations or campaigns please stand and be recognized? Kansans for Constitutional Freedom Ballot Measure Campaign. Maxwell Frost for Congress Candidate Campaign. Authentic Consulting Firm. Way to Win Funding Organization. Black Voters Matter, Ending Gun Violence by Electing Justice, Leading Through a Racial Equity Lens. The Center for Tech and Civic Life, National Issue Advocacy Organization. Community Tech Alliance, new organization making impact. AFSCME, Working Families Fund, Political Action Committee. The Forge, Progressive Media Outlet. Detroit Action, State Issue Advocacy Organization. Arizona Democratic Party, state, county, or local party. And the Voter Participation Center, Voter Education Organization. Congratulations to all. Our next honor, Lifetime Achievement, is presented to an individual who has dedicated their career to elevating others as part of the progressive movement. They have played many roles in our movement, often without recognition or fanfare, elevating candidates, talent, ideas, and policies. Many of these policies and these ideas and talent aim to make our country more just and equitable. Here to present the Lifetime Achievement Award is the Congresswoman representing the 9th District of Illinois, Jan Schakowsky.
What a thrilling night this is to be with all of you activists, people who are changing the world. I'm thrilled to be here to present this award to one of the most impactful organizers, leaders, women, Heather Booth. Let's hear it for Heather. I'm sure so many of you in this room have been influenced by Heather, and maybe she's changed your life because she has changed thousands and thousands of lives. Heather Booth was born in Mississippi. She was in a family that had two main messages for her and values for her, and that was love and justice. And Heather began early in first grade when another student in the class, this was in Mississippi, a black student, the only one in the class, was accused wrongly of stealing lunch money. Well, Heather wasn't just going to let that go by, so she stood up on behalf of this student, and of course, Heather prevailed. That was just the very beginning. When she was a very young woman, she went to Mississippi summer, a very dangerous time, really, to go to Mississippi, trying to help educate and help black voters be registered. She spent time with Fannie Lou Hamer, and that was the time when we lost three amazing young workers, Cheney, Goodman, and Schwerner were killed there, but Heather stayed and did the work. Heather was, after that, Heather went to the University of Chicago. She was in a sit-down against the Vietnam War, and sitting next to her turned out to be the love of her life and the wonderful, amazing organizer who at the time had just finished being head of SDS, Students for Democratic Society, and that was Paul Booth. And she and Paul sat next to each other, and 5 days later, Paul said he wanted to move in with Heather, and shortly after that said he wanted to marry her, and that was an incredible marriage and couple, and did so much. And of course, he was with AFSCME for many, many years. Heather also, I have this incredible list of things that she did, formed the Midwest Academy. Are there any Midwest Academy graduates here in this room? I'm one of them. I was in the second class of the Midwest Academy, one of the most effective training schools for organizers, and it was founded because Heather raised the money from a lawsuit that she had, and it was settled, her own lawsuit for discrimination against women, and used that money to form the Midwest Academy, and was inspired because at the time they said, well, she would hear that women can't really be good organizers. So much for that. I'm going to just go through very quickly so you see the breadth of what Heather has done. She helped form the Citizen Labor Energy Coalition, which was the first time really that progressives, leftists, and the labor movement really got together because it had been separated during the Vietnam War. She was the NAACP. She was the head of their campaign, their national campaign to get more African Americans to vote. She helped create the campaign for comprehensive immigration reform. She was the person who she was. I'm sorry, I'll get there. Americans for Financial Reform, taking on Wall Street. I won't go on and on because there are actually so many. But well, she was the training director for the Democratic National Committee. She was it was called the outreach of for the Biden campaign of seniors and progressives, the Biden-Harris campaign. But you know, it's not just about those things. And of course, Heather now, and I promised my husband I would say that she was one of the founders and is a member of Democracy Partners, which continues to do incredible work. But it's also the thousands and thousands of people who were her mentees, the thousands and thousands of people who have been inspired by her steadfastness, for willing to take on, as you heard, so many different challenges and to keep on fighting, for her optimism that we can always, when we organize, we can win. And so it is such an honor for me to be her friend. She really inspired me by taking me on at the Midwest Academy so many decades ago. And she also is the subject of a great movie called Heather Booth, Changing the World. I hope you'll take the opportunity to see that. But this is called a Lifetime Achievement Award, but I want to tell you to stay tuned for Heather Booth. She's not done yet. Here she is. Let's give her an award.
You know that when we organize, we have changed this world. And when you organize now, we will change this world, and we need to. Thank you. That's the prime lesson that I learned from a lifetime of movement work to build a more just, free, and democratic world, and to organize, but with love at the center. It's certainly a lesson that Jan Schakowsky lives every day, an inspiring member of Congress and with an organizer's strategic judgment and driven moral commitment. Jan, I love you. Your husband, Bob Creamer, is one of my longest time friends and partners in this movement. And you all, you are the organizers, the communicators, the analysts, the researchers, the funders, the technology creators. You are the movement builders. You are the people who really have helped to change this world and who will be changing this world. And your numbers magnified, so I appreciate you. Applause for you for what you've done and what you will be doing. Jan mentioned that I had been in Mississippi in 1964 with Freedom Summer. And the big lesson that I learned from that summer, with all the violence, with all the terror that poor black people were experiencing in Mississippi, within a year, we won a Voting Rights Act because people organized. And when we organize with love at the center, we have changed this world and we will change this world. It's a lesson I learned with Jane, the abortion underground before Roe. At that time in 1965, when 3 people talking about performing an abortion was a conspiracy to commit a felony. I'm not sure I quite knew that at the time, but I knew it was illegal. And because people organized, we were able to win the freedom to make the most intimate decision of a person's life about when or whether or with whom we have a child. It's the lesson that I've learned time after time in fighting for marriage equality. And we fought and we won because we organized. For tax fairness, and we still will make the wealthy pay their fair share. For immigration reform, and there will be a pathway to citizenship when we organize. For financial reform, consumer financial protection, and much more. And for 50 years, we have been able generally to move towards greater freedom and justice. Not enough. We have much further to go. But we won when people came together, when you did the work, when you passed it on to others, when we organized. We have changed this world, but now we face an extraordinary backlash against all we've done for 50 years and more. We're on a knife's edge between expanding freedom and having it taken away in the interests of the wealthiest few. But we know that the difference we make when we do the work, often when it's too hot or too cold or we're too tired or we're too bored, one more phone call, one more text, one more letter, one more fundraising appeal. But you are the people who do the work every day. And it's why these awards matter so much. The powerful IDEA Awards, celebrating over 80 movement builders, activists who do the work every day. And it really could be 800, 8,000. It could be 8 million. It's up to us to expand that world. It's one of the reasons that I do love Amy Pritchard so much. Amy, again, to recognize you, my love, and your remarkable team. It's also why I admire the others who've come to the stage. Guy Cecil, told him he taught me so much. Tasha Cole, and Victor from last year. Leadership from Minnie Timaraju, and the next generation of reproductive freedom fighters, Olivia Juliana. Thank you so much. Linda Lipson, the trial lawyers, Andrea Haley with this amazing vote.org, my goodness. Henry Munoz and Congressman Judy Chu and Grace Meng, great leaders, and the bold labor leaders you're about to hear from, Randy Weingarten and Lee Saunders. All the leaders you recognize tonight, all of you, and millions more, who you inspire, who do the work every day, and who know that when we organize with love at the center, we have changed this world. We need to change this world. And we will change this world. I look forward to celebrating with you your victories in the future when we take back this country for all of us, for all the people who live here. We organize and change the world. Thank you very much.
In our final community category of the night, we highlight the programs and events that had outsized impact on our work, be it through outreach and advocacy, internal organizational development, or community convening. Can the following people or organizations please stand and be recognized? The Worker Families Party Relational Postcard Program for canvassing, Blue Leadership Collaborative for coaching program, EC for Everybody, community-driven, culturally impactful program, the America Vote State Summit for convenings, the Declaration of Equity and Accountability in Ballot-Measured Campaigns, a diversity, equity, and inclusion tool, the Blue Leadership Collaborative for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program, the NEA Online Counter-Disinformation Program for issue advocacy, Project 83, the year-round organizing program of the Michigan Democratic Party for organizing, Gavel In Judicial Candidate Training Program for training, the Civic Engagement and Voter Protection Team at the Democratic National Committee for Voter Protection, and the Voter Participation Center for Voter Registration. Congratulations. And now for our final honor of the night, the Outstanding Labor Leadership Award. This award was created to recognize organized labor as the backbone of the progressive movement and honor the individuals who fuel the labor movement forward. The issues labor fights for impact all of us every day, whether or not we are in a union. We are grateful for the work that the labor movement has done to lift the voices of workers everywhere including the workforce that powers progressive politics, helping to ensure all workers can make a livable wage and retire with dignity. It's always pretty amazing when you can introduce one of your heroes to present an award to another one of your heroes. And so it's my honor to present the Outstanding Leadership Labor, here to present the Outstanding Lead, see this? I get flustered. You follow Heather Booth, and then you introduce Randy to introduce Lee, and this is what happens. Here to present the Outstanding Labor Leadership Award is the amazing president of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten.
Okay, those of you who have stayed to the end, thank you. The guy that I'm about to introduce is worth all of that and more. But let me just say to all of you, to Amy, to Andrea, to Olivia, to Grace, to Henry, to Heather, you put together a spectacular program of spectacular people who prove every day that, as you said, Andrea, about joy, my wife says that joy is an act of spiritual and political resistance. And that is really one of the things that she learned from you, Heather, in terms of the civil rights work of the Midwest Academy. And Olivia, we learn from you every day. And youth teaching all of us is pretty incredible. Thank you. And Grace, I know that Grace and Henry had to leave, but Grace and I went to the same law school. And Grace has been an incredibly dynamic leader. She's so understated, but she has changed Queens for the better over and over and over again. So, Amy, pretty awesome group of people who show us, as Heather just said, that in this midst of fear, there is hope. In the midst of despair, there is aspiration, and that is because of what all of you do every single day. Thank you. I do want to just honor another labor leader who has sat and has been here the entire night, and that is Becky Pringle from the NEA. Thank you, Becky Pringle, for doing all the work that we do in trying to protect and strengthen public education. And then I get to do something for someone who is a real brother, and I'll tell you why. So, you know, AFT and AFSCME have now become the two largest unions within the AFL-CIO. And there's good reasons for that, and there's bad reasons for that. But the thing that I know about Lee Saunders is something you all should know. This is someone who has your back. It doesn't matter what the issues are. And I have lots of notes here, and I'll probably not read them. It doesn't matter what the issues are. The big green machine has your back. Whether it is the sanitation workers in Memphis, whether it is correction workers in Montana, whoever it is, they represent 1.4 million public service employees who got us through COVID. And Lee Saunders is the one that has all of their back, and they had all of our backs. He is one of the most impressive, effective trade unionists and progressives I have ever known. This, and look, it could come from growing up in a union household in Cleveland, Ohio, raised by organizers, including a teacher. It could be he learned because of all the work he did in ASME, seasoned warrior, tactician, amazing strategist, understanding scholar of collective bargaining, of how you develop power. All of that stuff, Lee was a real student and is a real student of. But that's not what I want to talk about. I know Lee because both of us ended up becoming leaders in New York at around the same time. He, as the administrator for DC 37, and I, as the new leader of the UFT in Al Shanker and Sandy Feldman's footsteps. And we both came in, I forget whether he was there a few weeks before me or I was there a few weeks before him. We called each other up. We said, what can we do to help each other? And we were there in a period of time where even though there was still a lot of workers who were union members in New York, Rudy Giuliani didn't just attempt to tame a city, he attempted to crush the spirit of workers, particularly public workers in the city. And the two of us, with Dennis Rivera and others, we helped work through with each other how to regain the spirit of this great civil service in New York. And we had a lot of fun doing it. Like one day, I was having a rally in the steps of City Hall, and Mr. Saunders, now remember this is Rudy Giuliani, comes to the rally with a set of handcuffs, which, by the way, I still have. And he raises them up for all the media to see. My members happened to love it. And he said, "You try to do this, Rudy, to Randy, we will all have her back." What message was he sending? He was sending a message to Rudy Giuliani that none of us cared about whether or not we'd go to jail in the fight to protect people. Then we had the audacity, Dennis Rivera, Lee Saunders, and I, to just shut the whole city down one day. I think it was the first major rally that the city had seen in, 20 or so years. And there was the green machine coming from the west side, and Dennis Rivera and SEIU coming from the north to the south, and we, the UFT, coming from the Brooklyn Bridge. And all of a sudden, the whole downtown was shut down. And we sent a message that this was about hope and aspiration and about treating workers fairly. And then there was Scott Walker. And then there was Janice. And then there was DeSantis. And Trump in the middle of all of this. And in each one of these events, in each time that we had this kind of crisis, there's Lee Saunders with the green machine, figuring out and helping others figure out and having each other's back about what we need to do in these crises, how we need to keep hope alive, how we need to keep fighting back. And at the same time, remembering not just the fights in front of us, but the fights behind us that actually helped inform and inspire the fights in front of us. I'm so glad that ASME just launched the new podcast on the history and legacy of the 1968 Memphis sanitation workers' strike and the death of Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated 55 years ago while supporting the Memphis strikers. That sense of history informing and infusing the battle today as we look to the future. That's what the labor movement is. And Lee Saunders is that leader. And as he does all of this, and we do all of this, I'm going to go back to what, Andrea, you said. We have a lot of fun and a lot of joy. I love looking at the pictures of his grandsons and granddaughters and all that family. And I love looking at the pictures of Lynn's garden. And he loved dancing at my wedding. Having each other's back, but having joy as we fight the fights for dignity, worth, and hope, democracy, freedom. That's my friend. That's my brother, Lee Saunders. And as you come up, Lee, I need to tell you that this award will hereon, going forward, be called the Lee Saunders Outstanding Labor Leadership Award because of AFSCME's consistent commitment to growing our progressive infrastructure, your willingness to try new things, support fledgling organizations, and develop new talent. That's what it means to have everyone's back. My honor to bring up before you Lee Saunders.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Now, I know it's been a little long night, but good evening, everybody. Let's hear some noise in the house. I want to thank Randy. I want to have her introduce me every time I give a speech all across the country. I'll hire her to do that. Seriously, though, Randy was a partner in New York City when we were there together. We were able to take on Rudy Giuliani, and we won. We won with not only the support of our unions, but our friends and allies and community organizations across that city. And I remember her coming to Washington when she became the president of AFT, and she immediately contacted me, and I was still a staffer at AFSCME, and I congratulated her, and I said, well, we're back together again, because I came back down to Washington. And I said, your ambitions are similar to mine, and we will meet one day with you, the president of AFT, and me, the president of AFSCME. And we have remained this close ever since New York. And I am telling you, I know that she has my back, and I will always have her back. She's a true leader. And I just want to mention another true leader who's in the audience, and her name is mentioned earlier, and that's Becky Pringle, the president of the National Education Association. Because these two presidents, both Randy and Becky, they're effective advocates for teachers, and just as important, they're effective advocates for our children who attend public schools across this country. They fight every single day. Under enormous pressure, they make their voices heard. Give them a round of applause for everything that they do to promote public education. I want to acknowledge all of the dynamic warriors who have received awards tonight. I also want to acknowledge your co-chairs, Guy Cecil and Tasha Cole, as well as the founder of GAIN, Amy Pritchard, for the incredible work they do. Give them a round of applause. But most of all, I want to thank all of you for the work you're doing every single day to build what I call a movement moment across this country. A movement moment. You know, all across the country there is a bold surge of activism, much of it coming from young people who are rising up and demanding change, fueling a new wave of labor organizing, standing up for reproductive freedom, refusing to accept an epidemic of gun violence, answering a call to action on climate change, demanding dignity for immigrant communities, fighting for racial equity and justice for all communities of color. You're on the leading edge of this movement moment. You are the foot soldiers in the battle for our future. You're building the infrastructure of change, educating, organizing, and mobilizing. And as someone who has been in the trenches for more than 45 years, you give me hope. You give me hope for the future. You inspire me with your talent, with your creativity, with the urgency you bring to this essential work. And I do mean essential, because right now, though I believe we're living in a moment of great opportunity, of great possibility, we also confront unique threats. Corporate special interests continue to rig the game against working families. The Supreme Court is hell-bent on rolling back many of our most cherished rights and freedoms. The pillars of our democracy are under attack every single day. There is so much at stake. So I urge you to continue to lean into your work, and I promise you this: AFSCME, the 1.4 million members of AFSCME, will stand with you. Exactly 2 weeks ago, my wife who's here today, Lynn, sitting in the front row, give her a round of applause, that'll help me out. My wife and I were blessed with our fourth grandchild, a granddaughter, our first granddaughter. So you know she's going to be spoiled every single day, right? My wife and I have been blessed with these grandchildren. You know, having these little ones around gives us an even greater stake in our collective future. It really forces us to be even more forward-looking. It makes us think a little more about the kind of country we are, about who we'll be as a society, not just in 2023, but in 2043 and 2053. So I'm proud to accept this award, and even prouder that the award will carry my name in the future. I accept it on behalf of the public service workers of AFSCME who strengthen our communities every single day. But I also accept it for my 4 grandchildren who are counting on all of us, who are counting on all of you to do everything that we can to fight and to make our voices heard to build their future. I ask that you stay on the front lines of this movement moment, carrying the torch for our shared values, bringing your passion to the struggle for freedom, for the struggle for equality, for the struggle for justice. Thank you very much.
Wow. What an amazing evening filled with inspiration, optimism, and hope. Again, we want to thank GAIN for hosting this event. We can't wait for next year. This is a beautiful location. I'm so honored to be here tonight. We also want to thank all of our generous sponsors for making this possible. But most of all, we want to thank each and every one of you for being the muscle behind all the work that we do in the fight for sanity and progress, and for giving us a reason to celebrate tonight.
We don't want to keep you any longer, so please join us outside the theater for the after party. And if the awardees can please stay for just one more minute, we want to get a group photo. Thank you for being here with us this evening, and good night.